Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Raybearer Book 2, Redemptor, chapters 22, 23, 24, and 25. In these chapters, Tarisai gets up close and personal with the King of Jabonti, and she just keeps being like, damn you for being so fine. Welcome to Unspoiled.
Akabiole, wunde sa mina walio. Akabiole, wunde sa mina walio. Awonde sana, wunde sa mina walio. Akabiole, wunde sa mina walio. Akabiole, wunde sa mina walio. Awonde sana.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm Rashawn. We've all been there, right? We've all been there. We've all had this guy in our lives where we're just like, God damn it. I can't stand you. Why are you so fucking fine? I would jump you right now if I wasn't so angry at you.
This is one of those bits where I get like, with this character in particular, I have such like mixed feelings.
For, Zuri?
Yeah, because he's fine as hell and he wants revolution, and I love this about him. But he also like tells our girl about herself so much, and I just want him to like maybe not always act like he knows everything in this superior manner that is playful but also dead serious. You know,
I will say my frustration with him, which is my frustration in the real world, is when he's talking to her about his revolutionary plans, and he's like, but I didn't think all the way through the thing that I had planned.
Yeah,
because I just couldn't be bothered.
Yeah,
so
he has a couple of moments where he's like, wow, Tarisai, you really have foresight. And I'm like, is that what you call it? Yeah. Or is it just like common sense? I don't
like. It never occurred to me that the volcano would just decimate the entire village.
Yep.
Why didn't it occur to you, sir?
Yep. Oh, it didn't occur to me that the beetles that I infested that grain with would wind up eating the food of the poor. Like, what, really?
Yeah.
It didn't.
But that short-sightedness didn't stop you from thinking that you were the person that was best equipped to lead this revolution, though.
So, all right, let's start. Chapter 22 is the very beginning of part 4, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And she has still been gripped up by him, and he has like swooped her off, as you said, in a very Tarzanish manner.
Yeah. This is immediately after the sort of PETA protest where they dumped a bunch of pig's blood on everybody at the fucking textile market. It is, right? It's very like dump red paint on the fucking Oscars runway or whatever, circa 1992.
I was a member of PETA like way back in the day.
Were you really?
Yep, I was a PETA member and I was vegan for like 2 years.
Shut up.
Yep. It wasn't until like I dropped the vegan thing because I traveled to Guatemala and there was just no way. Like, and by the time I got home, I had been away so long that I was like, well, that's over.
That's canceled.
Yeah. But it was so many years before I really understood like the misinformation campaign that PETA was. And I think it had gotten worse from when I was a member, but that was what it was, you know?
Oh, yeah, always.
And I look back at it and I'm like, man, I really thought I was doing like research, and all of my research came from one website, and I didn't question that at all because I didn't understand. Anyway, enough about PETA. They bum me out. So he winds up like getting her to a second location.
Yeah,
with
he
this
uses
fucking gem.
Yeah, we had seen him as the Crocodile in the last book, I guess. Pull this sort of disappearing act. This Houdini. And we never really understood what happened. There was no way for us as readers to know because she hadn't met him yet. She didn't know what the deal was. So we were trying to figure out how he pulled this off. So we get the reveal in this chapter of the extent he's gone, which is pretty, I don't know if impressive is the right word, extensive. He has used
the
magic.
extent is extensive.
Yeah. The pale arts, as they're called here, which is forever funny. And he has these this gem embedded in his skin along with a piece of lodestone as well. And basically through that magic, that's what allows him to pull this disappearing act. And he I don't understand this exactly, but basically I guess it's supposed to sort of mimic the lodestone travel because he's able to bring Tarisai with him when he pulls this disappearing act, and they show up in his private quarters afterwards. And it turns out that there is often, it's so funny, this pale arts thing. It's just tickles me to no end. But the sort of construct around it is very similar to what we are more familiar with, the dark arts, right? Which is the idea that if you are engaging in this type of magic, there's a cost.
Yeah.
It's going to be a price you have to pay. And so we kind of discover that he is not exactly sure how that's going to play out for him.
Yeah.
It's not great.
Yeah, this is all happening on credit right now.
Pretty much,
and he has no idea what that interest rate looks like at all.
Yeah, not at all. But but
it's a payday loan for sure, so it's not going to be pretty.
So he has gone into this deal because it serves his interests in the big picture, and it brings a certain amount of makes us think that he's willing to personally sacrifice himself for this sort of greater good. That's sort of the veneer of it all,
Sure.
But our girl is not sure she should be impressed just yet in this very first chapter. Rightfully.
Yeah. So she sees this and she asks if he is an Eru, and he says, in a way. And the stone is something that's only available from the underworld, and it's super expensive. And it says it is said to amplify the wearer's natural power, but it binds the wearer to a person or a cause. Until that person is satisfied or the cause is fulfilled, idekun torment you.
Yeah. That felt very, very important, even though I haven't parsed it all exactly.
Yeah.
There's another bit too about how when she sees it, one of the gems is like an emerald gem, I think. And she sees that, and that's what makes her ask the question, because she's like, I've seen that before.
Yeah.
That's the fucking gem my mom used. What's all that about, sir?
Yeah. And when she's like, well, aren't you being poisoned? He's like, yeah, the doy. But also, at least I get to pick how I'm dying. And she's like, what? And later on, when he's like, well, do you know about my family? She's like, yeah, I heard that your mom died and your dad died. And I think your brother died and your other brother died.
And then in real time, she's like, wait a minute. Hey, Patrick's here. Rashawn was, I
had
a whole backstory for you, Patrick. You were having a super hot date tonight, and that's why you couldn't make it.
So he gets a bath ready for her, and he's very respectful. He goes as far away from her while she's bathing as he can. But she winds up falling asleep in it.
Yeah, she ends up having a panic attack in this tub. She kind of drifts off, and then the things in her head get the best of her, and she really starts to freak out. And he comes in because she's making such a racket.
Yep.
And what does he say to her? He says that you're having, he doesn't call it a panic attack, but there's a way that
anxiety fit.
Anxiety fit, yeah. I was like, oh, I want to incorporate that. I'm no longer having anxiety attacks or panic attacks. I'm having anxiety fit.
I like it. I threw a fit.
Right.
Which makes it sound like you had a lot more agency.
Yeah, I like it. It feels bigger. It feels like I was more involved in it. Like I was the one that chose to do the thing.
It didn't happen to you.
It didn't just happen to me. You know, it's not as passive.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. I threw an anxiety fit. Yes. Yes,
I like
it.
Did.
You deserved it.
Did you catch it? I threw it. And yeah, he says that like a lot of his men suffer from this, and he's like, I know it feels like you can't breathe, but you can. And she's like, are you sure? Which I did appreciate that line. And
really quick, that line you're talking about when he says, you'll work through it. I love her response. She says his voice was stern and it made me angry, but to my surprise, it helped. And that is like a really true little thing. It's a really true little snippet.
Yeah, it's true. When people try and just be soothing, it can sort of just roll off you. But if somebody manages to provoke a different emotion, it derails the anxiety from taking over.
Yep.
And she's just looking at the water and saying there's so much blood. And he's like, you should get out and not look at the water then. And he helps her get out without looking at her, I think. He just recommends it. He doesn't help her. He offers to help getting it out of her hair.
Yeah, he offers to wash her hair, and she starts thinking about what that would look like and feel like in proximity with him leaning over her, and he's like, picks up on her vibe, and he's like, or I could just give you a turban. You could just wrap that shit up.
I love it so much. This moment, do you remember Boyle on Brooklyn Nine-Nine and how he would always say that washing a woman's hair is the most intimate thing you can do?
What a weird character Boy was.
Oh, I love him.
He would say like the most bizarrely sexual shit, but like wouldn't really mean it.
But he wouldn't understand why everybody was snickering. Yeah. Yep. Oh my God. And they think that he comes in and they're talking about their oldest bag and he thinks that they mean like arrested. And he says like 84 years old and everybody's like, what? And he's just like, well, yeah. And then finds out what it's about. Oh, bless you, Boyle. I really like that he always talks about how the song Kokomo is the greatest rock song ever written. That's my personal fave. Anyway, so this bit between the two of them is just a recurring thing of him offering to do something, her getting very flushed and like, no, that's okay. I could never. And then him realizing what she's thinking and then getting this slow smile and being like, sure. And I'm like, sir, stop it.
I have to admit, as I was reading this chapter and they were spending so much time together, I was just like, and she's like constantly just being like, as she thinks about him, there are all these descriptions of him physically, you know, his hair, his body, his smile, his smell. And I'm just like, girl, but cheat though. What are you doing? I don't want this to be. I don't want this.
Yeah. If this were a different kind of story, I'd be like, just fuck him and then just drop it, you know? But that's not the kind of story this is, I guess. So, and yeah, let's see. What kind of king makes his own subjects think he's a fool? Because she's still stuck on the fact that he does what he does. And this is when she realizes that his whole family was murdered. Yeah. My father might have killed himself, too proud to live as a puppet. I, on the other hand, we have long been controlled by merchant warlords. Their riches outweigh my treasury, and if it were up to them, they would erase my family altogether. Yeah. But the common people of Jabanti revere us, and so we remain.
Yeah. I love this inclusion of what's going on in Jabanti because we know, and she says later on, that's happening other provinces as well. It's not just here. Like this is sort of systemic, right? The merchants in the various realms are really who's ruling. They have the money, they have the power, and without their
and you get the women. I love you, like your indulgent laugh where you're like, all right, we're gonna take a minute. I guess
it's funny to me for a couple of reasons. One, because I don't like I know you know the quote, but like, have you ever actually watched Scarface?
Oh no. Mm-mm.
See, that's why it's really funny to me, because you haven't actually watched it.
Yeah,
you should watch it.
There is
you should watch Scarface.
A scene in some show where it's Christina Applegate and another female character, and she's like, "We are no longer in When Harry Met Sally. We are in Scarface." And she says, "I've never seen Scarface." And Christina Applegate replies, "Neither have I. No girls have, but that's what we're in."
No girls have. And ladies and gentlemen, I present to you myself.
Yay.
It is not a good movie. Yeah. But it is a classic, you know. It is a weird ass Brian De Palma on probably entirely too much cocaine.
Oh God, I don't know what I have to assume.
But it has got
none of that was props. That was all real.
But it's got it's got a super fucking hot Michelle Pfeiffer when she's like 21 years old, you know. Fucking Al Pacino. Yeah, we should watch it.
I went on a deep dive the other day about Goodfellas and the guy who wrote it and everything about it. That is some crazy shit. Like, there is stuff that wasn't even included because it was too crazy and he was afraid. And then once like certain people died, he came out and was like, yeah, this and that too. And people were like, what?
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway.
All-time classic. One of my favorites. Did I share that in the group? I shared that in a text chat with you guys. There was a meme that I shared. Well, I'll take it offline. But anyway.
And yeah, he says, we look the other way as Warlord seize every mill, mine, and quarry that the Kunleos don't own already. And everybody who tries to do anything is mysteriously killed. And initially, they were trying to help. The whole thing was supposed to like create lower prices.
Yep.
And then they were like, oh, or we could just gather together and price gouge. And I'm like,
listen.
Oh, this is so familiar. What does this remind me of?
So we had a lot of moments in the first book where it was just really hidden.
Yep.
You know? And then in this book, we're getting a little bit deeper into some of the... it's all political, but this book is focusing much more on what Tarisai is going through internally as she tries to navigate like the things she's trying to accomplish.
Gotcha.
Right? So it's gotten like a little bit smaller, but overall the big themes are all still there. And when she talks about, and Zuri is telling her, initially the merchants, you know, were all going to band together because we were trying to keep things fair for our kingdom or our realm or whatever, you know. And then as they were sitting around talking to each other, it occurred to them that they are the ones with all the power, and why should they be fucking doing anything other than just getting more power and money for themselves?
This is what happens, folks, when you don't have a bureaucracy. We like to shit talk bureaucracy a lot. But if we had it done right, it keeps sort of shit from happening.
Every single thing in this country, at least, the United States, at least, because that's the only one that I feel any, you know, that I can speak on. Almost without fail, every single thing that exists in our government that is for our protection as citizens and consumers only happened because we had to fight and prove and show that people were actively dismissing our safety. You know, whether it's like labor laws, safety of products, the safety of the kind of car you drive, whether your work environment is safe. Like nobody did any of that shit for any of us because it was the right thing to do.
Yep.
If it wasn't for, like, if we didn't regulate these systems and these industries, they would just do whatever the fuck.
Yep.
There's nothing that fences them in. There's no constraints. They would literally just do whatever.
And even with those constraints, they figure out ways to, if you have to give benefits after 30 hours, we'll schedule everybody at 29 hours.
Yep.
Well, if you have to have a half-hour break after 7 hours, we'll schedule for 6.5 hours.
Yep.
They just find ways. So there's all these laws that are allegedly put in place to protect us, but they just wind up being a way to step around a thing and then screw us worse.
And not only what you just said, but once the regulations are in place, they then spend all this money lobbying to deregulate.
Yep.
Right? Because we put constraints on them, and then they go crying about how the restraint is actually a burden. Mm-hmm. For me and what I do for work, there's like banking is extremely like regulated, and it still is a mess. But it has to be extremely regulated because they have shown over and over and over again that if you don't, they will just fucking do whatever they want to do. We have things in the United States where we literally have to force banks to make sure that if they have a bank in a neighborhood, right, we have to force them to make sure that they are giving loans to the people in the neighborhoods where their banks are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called CRA. It's like the Community Reinvestment Act.
Yep.
Because for so long, they would set up shop in neighborhoods, take all the deposits from that neighborhood, and then never lend money to anybody in that neighborhood. Only lend money, usually to white people, that live somewhere else. And the government had to step in and say, you cannot do that. And they are still to this day fighting it. It's capitalism.
Yeah, it's wild how, when I was younger, I just saw banks as like, basically like money house. Place where you put your money to keep it safe. And now I realize, like, it's a giant speculation operation. It's a giant, like, it's a temporary home. It's a foster home for money. That's what it is.
Foster home for money.
Anyway, so yeah, this whole thing is just very, very familiar. And this is when he says, I didn't even think of that about the Beatles. That foresight, that attention to detail, the way you solve puzzles no one else sees, to which I'm like,
Are you sure no one else sees
I feel like
her?
some people might see it, but okay. It's why I want you, Tarisai. And she does a
yeah, that's what she should have. Like, you don't have nobody else in your crew that could have been like, sir, that's a whole ass volcano. Mm-hmm. Maybe we don't want to be here when it erupts. Maybe we want to give people a chance to get away or something.
I don't get the vibe that he has too many people working with him. Like, but it's unclear, he did have enough of a crew. So I guess he must. Yeah, there should be.
There was a conversation with her and him about the secret of him being the crocodile and why he revealed it to her and all that stuff. Right. And he tells her that, like officially, no one really knows. Like she knows because he told him or he told her. But he says, I think some of the people the crocodile works with may have put it together.
Yeah.
But it's not something that he actively talked about or revealed to them. So he's working with people who, according to him, are smart enough to at least maybe figure out who he really is.
Yeah.
But maybe he doesn't take their counsel when it comes to stuff like awakening a volcano. I'm not sure what the breakdown was.
Maybe they're all so hot-headed and like admire him so much that they don't think beyond the first steps, because that can happen. Cult of personality kind of thing.
Yeah, true.
And somebody just proposes something and everybody's on board because they said it.
We've seen that enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's why I want you. Is that a problem? Don't you want me to, as a council brother, to fulfill my treaty with the Abiku? Yes, of course. What did you think I meant?
This motherfucker out here playing games.
I cannot with this. Oh, infuriating.
And then he says, as she is like embarrassed, she's starting to blush a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, "It's why I trusted you with my secret."
I swear to God, they better fucking find somebody so hot for him.
What you mean if they like do like a TV adaptation?
Yeah,
because
Netflix bought it, So in my imagination, they're in casting right now doing it.
Things have been so wonky with streaming, and there was just a giant list of shows on Disney and Hulu that are about to go.
Yeah. Did you read the list though?
It was a bunch of shit. The only thing that was on there that bummed me out, because I had been meaning to tell you for months to watch it, and now it's going, is Everything's Trash on Hulu.
Okay.
It is based on and stars a woman. It's not like great, but it's funny. It's not, but it's a woman who podcasts, and they made a show about her podcast called Everything Is Trash.
Oh, shit.
Of like took like real stuff, but sort of like fictionized a little bit, so
right.
Would have a narrative. But yeah, it's called Everything's Trash, and you should watch it on Hulu before it disappears. It's only like one season, like 6 episodes or something.
Noted.
Get it before it's gone.
I'll try. The only thing on there, I recognized, of course, Willow, the movie, and the Disney wedding, like Disney dream weddings, which I watched when I was still planning my wedding for ideas.
Oh, that's
and they were some like really good general ideas, but God, the execution on some of these, it's just I'm just not a Disney person, so it's not going to be for me.
I was shocked that you went there for inspiration, but
sometimes I just wanted a thing on,
when you were planning your wedding, it was a crazy time.
You guys. Anyway, let's not talk about it. So we want the same thing for poverty to be a thing of the past.
Yes.
I know you don't trust me, but we'll be spending plenty of time together. And she's like, aren't you ever going to do the Kuso thing? And he's like, nah.
And he's super resistant to this.
Yeah. She feels like, I know you're hiding another thing from me. And he's like, what? No. Very convincing.
Yeah.
And when she touches him, she tries to use her hallow.
It does not work.
And he just slams the door in her face. And she's like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, funny story. I have a hallow that is resisting everybody else's hallow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that is pretty...
Yeah, if you're going to have...
I think this is why I'm still alive, and none of my family is actually.
Yeah, if you're going to have a hallow, that's like the kind of that you want.
Yeah. So this goes into chapter 23, and let's see, I forgot about because he tells her basically, get dressed and we won't try and let anybody know that you were here bathing, because that's gonna start a whole bunch of rumors.
We don't want that to get out. He's trying to we'll trust you so that you can blend in. And they get her back to the palace, and it's another one of these fucking grand rising things that happen every month, but it feels like every chapter.
Yeah.
I'm so annoyed by this tradition. It just I'm so annoyed by it.
I really appreciate the way it's done too, because monthly things that you don't like can feel like this. It's it just happened. A month went by? No. Not really. Oh my God. Okay. I guess here we go again.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's just me with no concept of time whatsoever.
I think it's helpful because it does help give us a sort of timeline.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But it really does feel like we just did this.
Yeah.
In the chat, I'm sorry, real quick. Yama's asking if we have watched the new Willow show, and I haven't.
No. Same.
I was a big fan of the original movie, but I haven't seen it in many, many years, and I did not know there was a new show. So, forgive my ignorance
I don't think that I realized that there was a new show, and I can't remember watching the original. I feel like it was on at my babysitter's, because it was one of those shows that I feel like was on television a fair amount, if I'm not mistaken. but maybe she just had it on tape or something. But yeah, I always heard about it, and I knew that it was like the Val Kilmer saves a baby story, and that was all I really knew.
I'm older than you, but when I was little, it was something that was on like basic cable a lot. Like every weekend, it would just be, there were certain things that were just running on basic cable all the time back in the day because there was not like a lot of options, and it was one of the things that would always be on. So like I watched it a fair amount when I was a little kid, but I haven't revisited it in many, many years.
I kind of want to check it out just because I feel like there are some things that hold up with nostalgia and there are some that don't, and I'm just curious about whether this is one of the things that without nostalgia, if you watch it, is it still any good? But anyway, so Zuri like swans in is really the word I want to use
towards the end of it, right? He shows up at the end and he's just watching the fucking rising ritual and he's like smirking behind his hand a little bit.
And Dayo sees him and is like, damn, Tar, are you sure you don't want to be having babies? Because
Dayo, chill. I need you to chill.
I love that so much.
He just fucking like, have you seen this dude?
I just thought,
I mean,
he's
she
very
like,
vigorous.
Cracks him in the ribs or something. She's just like, shut it. It's very cute. And so yeah, he's there towards the end of it, but he's here because he has with him people. He has some surprises. And he has Uwen is there. And
surprise.
Surprise. I didn't think we were going to see him. And I definitely didn't expect to see him in this context, showing up with Zuri. And I had the same question Tarisai had. What?
Yeah.
How do y'all know each
and
other?
He's
like, what is
real,
this? Real cagey.
Yeah. He does not want to give her a straight answer.
Mm-mm. And I had like side-eyed that for like the entire chapter. I'm just like, sir... Mm-hmm. We're trying to build a relationship. You're going to be on her council. You don't want to do the what is it? The kuso,
right?
You want it to be like a real sort of like exchange between the two of us that's honest, that we trust each other. Then I need you to answer some questions.
Mm-hmm.
And then he also has brought with him Yuen, right?
Yes.
And she has a little baby with her. This is
wee lass.
So some things have happened in Songland since we were last there. Some like big things.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, guys, if you can hear my dog. Pippin's we're having to keep him in the yard. He's like away from Sam, and every now and then they're half husky, and huskies are very, very vocal. So every now and then he just laments right outside my window. Yeah. So if you hear that, guys, that's what that is. We're not hurting him, even though he really makes it sound like we are. But yeah, it says, beside them stood a young girl with short bobbed hair, Yaun. And then there's the golden cheeked baby, which I don't know why, but the golden cheeked was very adorable sounding.
Yeah.
That got me.
Agreed. I love too that Yuen is described as having jaded features.
Yes.
Which is such a weird description, but like I get it,
mm-hmm.
But it was such an interesting description.
That's a thing that I find really interesting about like when they have to do casting for TV shows and there's a character that's like a child, but they have to pretend to be older. Like an older person got put into a kid's body, or they're like an old immortal and they were turned when they were a kid or whatever. And why that works for some actors and why it doesn't for others, and what exactly like that there's something sort of difficult to quantify about the child actors that pull that off.
Yep. I said this ages ago on a different podcast, but Millie Bobby Brown in The Intruders pulls off what you were talking about so spectacularly.
The Intruders, is that a TV show or a movie?
It was a TV show on BBC and it only had one season, and that's the very first place I ever saw Millie Bobby Brown. And when she popped up on Stranger Things later and became like this huge success, I was like, yep.
Yeah.
She was so good in that. And she plays like an 8-year-old girl, but in a body.
Yeah.
But the mind of a like 70-year-old serial killer / pedophile.
Ooh.
And she plays it so fucking good.
Ooh, that's spooky.
That like when she had all her success later, I was like, I knew it. That girl is fucking talented. Yeah, she's going to be a thing.
It's just like, you know, there was somebody on that show, Motherland Fort Salem, the one that's like, what if witches were real?
I never watched it. Is it good?
It's like, I would give it a 7 out of 10. It's got a lot of potential, and sometimes it's a 7, and sometimes it's more like a 5 or 6. But I think it's a fun show and mostly pretty well done, and that can be genuinely very tense. And there's a character that shows up who's really much older than they look, and she nails it. And I was like, why am I getting like fucking ancient elder vibe off of her? And then you find out, no, that's what she is. And another one that I won't get into because spoilers, but a character who is like thousands of years old potentially in the body of like a 17-year-old, and this kid actor who I'm sure is more like 25, 17, television 17, but God, he plays an old man like in this body so convincingly that you stop seeing the 17-year-old. You know what I mean? It's wild. Anyway, so she also has her like spirit guide. What is it that they call them? Emiran?
I think so, yeah.
Soul guardian, that's what it is. And it's a phoenix.
Yeah, it's a phoenix, but it's like not a fire phoenix.
No.
This is really cool.
It's really, yeah. Their essence isn't fire, it's water. The language of my Sowanhada. And this piques Tarisai's interest, and she's kind of like, ooh, what can you do with water? But she does not ask the question. Now is not the time.
Yeah, now's not the time, but she's definitely like making a mental note.
Yeah.
That we should circle back around to this.
So this is the part where they start talking about training Tarisai for the underworld, and she's like, well, I'm immune to all 13 deaths, so why do I really need training? And they're like,
yeah. This is some information that I feel like should have been shared much earlier.
Agree? Strongly.
For reasons that I do not understand, this is only coming up now. And what we're learning is that there are way more than 13 deaths.
Yeah.
In the underworld, at least. And Tarisai had been under the impression that death wasn't something she had to really necessarily worry about. She was thinking, worst case scenario, she gets trapped in the underworld and then dies of old age because she's supposed to be immune. And so now we are learning that is actually not accurate.
Yep.
And I don't know if it happens here, but we get oh no, it is here, where Yuen is telling her, Tarisai, that she says death in the underworld is not a concept. Yeah. It is a literal living thing. Various monsters, she uses the word monsters, are down there. And they are like all kinds of deaths, like a burning death, a drowning death, heart death, There's a death that isn't even death in a real sense. Despair, avarice, yearning, ways that you can have like a living death, I think she says.
Yeah.
This is not what we all thought we signed up for.
I think perhaps there's a way humans can die while their hearts are still beating. One of the deaths didn't have a name at all.
That one was really upsetting to me.
Like, come on.
And we don't ever come back to it either. They just say that shit and then move on.
Yep. I like to know, like, how do you know it didn't do they wear name tags? Do they introduce themselves?
I have to feel like they you know how
I'm Heart Death. Hi.
Evil spirits always like to talk about themselves. They have a whole like fucking monologue before they kill you.
So, yeah, she kind of freaks out, understandably, at this news. Zuri is like, this sounds pretty heavy, so I'm going to bounce. And this is when she's like trying to get info about how he's connected to Wu-In, and he's not telling her. And then another conversation about him killing her mom.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to hand wave, whatever.
Wu-In also doesn't want to have a conversation about how he knows Zuri. He says something really like lame, like, oh, it's a long story. Like, we don't have time. We have time. Just tell me right now why you're standing here.
And he says, my mother is uneasy with the idea of me staying in on Ilioba. Guess she's afraid I'll get sucked into another Eric conspiracy. And she's like, when have you started listening to what your mom wants? I didn't think that you guys got on like that.
When did y'all make up?
Yep. And he's basically like, she clearly was ashamed of herself, and I've decided to sort of move past it. Yeah. I didn't ever hate her, but I think she hated herself. And I was like, yeah, I could see that.
He does the thing.
She should.
She's a different person now, which is what a lot of us do, you know? Yeah. Because what are your options? You know, it's a thing where, like, someone could have really done you wrong or hurt you or did you a great disservice, and you can rightfully have feelings about that and choose not to forgive them for how they didn't serve you in the way that you needed, right, at the time that you needed it. But then there becomes a point where the person that you are angry with doesn't really exist anymore. Yeah. You know, for good or for bad, that person just doesn't exist. So then you have to sort of be like, well, who am I holding a grudge against? Is it the person that's standing in front of me right now, or a person who ceased to exist 20 years ago? So it seems like Wu-In has decided that the woman as his mother who lives and exists in this moment right now is not the woman that he had those feelings about, you know? Yep. And has found a way to sort of reconcile it so that he can, I don't know, enjoy these last moments with her, because she's an older woman right at this point, right? So he's trying to have like sort of a relationship before she's gone. And I don't know, reading this, which is not like the big thing of this chapter, but I really appreciated that it was included because it feels like a very real thing. And the confusion that Tarisai feels when she's asking also feels like a real thing. Yeah. Because sometimes when you make that choice, I don't want to call it forgiveness, but you make that choice to have a relationship with whomever it was. The people that you know that knew about the thing that happened to you, whatever the trauma was, a lot of times those people will be like, wait, what? Yeah. You did what?
I very much
good.
get like
it's
this.
All good now? Like y'all are all fine now? You know?
Yeah. I hold a grudge because for me, they're always the person that I heard about. I don't have to see the new version of them. I just know what they did and that they're frozen in time for me as this asshole.
Yeah. And that's the sort of thing. Like, when do you let people unfreeze and become something more, and when is it appropriate for them to be frozen in time forever? Yeah. You know, and I guess it's just like up to individual people to make that call for themselves, you know? Jim Brown died today.
Who's that?
Jim Brown was a football player, a like legendary football player. Okay. One of the best to ever do it if you follow that sport, which I don't, in like the 60s. And then also a sort of like a political activist, civil rights activist, you know. Nice. He was also an actor. He also didn't know how to keep his hands. I thought you were getting all choked up. No, he also didn't know how to keep his hands off of the women in his lives. Case after case after case after case. A lot of them got dismissed. Charges weren't filed. Charges got dropped. Women didn't want to testify, withdrew their, you know, whatever. But just like a long list going into the 2000s, you know. And it's just a weird thing because people are often more than one thing, you know. But yeah. So I saw like a lot of tributes from him today from, you know, big pages and whatever. But nobody mentioned the women.
This is what, like, and people get so mad, especially when somebody has died, and they want, now you're not allowed to say anything bad about them. But when you were saying it while they were alive, it was, well, why do you just want to, like, bring this man down? Or, you know, it's all a conspiracy. Like, there's never a time where you're supposed to bring it up. And everybody pretends that there was a time where it was appropriate and it's not now, but there never was. Stop it.
Yeah, there never was. And it, you know, and it, you know, it's whatever. It's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, people are complicated and people are often multiple things all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And we just don't have a way to really have conversations about all that. We still don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, especially as we get into more and more soundbitey sort of news travel, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Everything is just like, what can you fit into a headline, and how can you take it out of context enough to make people click because they're angry already?
Yep.
And then they find out it's not at all what it sounded like. Anyway, so there is this moment where she asks about all the other Redemptor children and whether they're at the refuge alone.
Mm-hmm.
And Yoon says that refuge doesn't exist. After you canceled the Redemptor Treaty, Queen Hai-sun sent an order to Songland. All the Redemptors were to be adopted into regular families, so the other children got taken.
I love this. Tarisai says, that's wonderful.
And she
immediately realized that was the wrong answer. Which have done.
No one wanted me. That's Yoon. They said I'm cursed since I've been to the underworld already. And Irie cried when the nobles tried to separate us. So I don't care where I live, but I'm not going anywhere without Irie.
Yeah, I love this. This took a turn I wasn't expecting, and it was delightful. So, Tarisai asks if she can hold Arai, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she holds her for a second, and she's expecting something. She's expecting to feel a thing, right?
Mm-hmm,
a maternal instinct, something to kick in, right? And it doesn't really happen for her. But while she's holding this little baby, the baby sees Dayo.
Yeah.
And is like, I want to be there.
Yep.
And he is immediately smitten. Like, it is a love match immediately.
So cute.
It's adorable, and I love it so much. He calls her Riri, which is such a black fucking thing to do. I love us so much. Calls this baby Riri. Doesn't ask if it's okay to be giving out nicknames, just giving out nicknames.
You'll love the wooden giraffes and the rocking zebra.
Oh my!
Unless you want a real one. Did Uncle Dayo buy you a zebra?
I can get you a zebra.
I fucking love this so much.
It is so fantastic. And this little baby is smitten. Dayo is smitten. And it is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
But Tarisai is watching, and she gets hit with like a wave of sadness.
Yeah.
Because it didn't happen for her when she was holding the baby.
Yep.
There was no change. She was still of the same mind that having children isn't for her. And it's sad.
Yeah, it's especially like there's just such a fucking narrative that this is what women are made for, and if you don't feel that, there's something wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, can we just kill that already?
I really wish we would.
It's so tiresome.
Plagued me for a long time, you know, the feeling of just like, is this evidence that I'm broken?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like, I've always suspected that I was broken, but I could never prove it. Is this the proof? Yeah.
I'll tell you what, kids, having these dogs has made me very, very thankful and feel very validated that I never had kids, because no thank you. It has been like 5 months of this, and I guess 6, but
oh my God.
Oh boy. Owen and I were talking about it the other day, and I was like, look, if I knew them what I knew now, I would still have done it because I want them to be alive. But I would have thought about it.
I would have thought deeply about it.
I would have stopped and been like, oh. But thankfully I didn't know what lay ahead and just danced in, rescuing. Pass, Tosh.
That's how we end up doing the right thing, though, is because we don't think about it too much. We just move in.
Because it's just the right thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many little moments because, we're keeping Pippin, and for those who aren't aware, there were 9 puppies, and the first time I met 3 of them, they just wandered into my carport, and I was like, what are these random puppies doing here? And their skin and bones. And I took a picture of them, and Pippin is in that picture. And then the day that we finally took them all in, Owen handed me them over the fence, and I was taking video to post about it. And then he came up carrying one, and I actually got that on camera, and that's Pippin. And Pippin was the one up against his brother's body because they found him against the one that had already died by the time we got there. And so all of these key moments, it's Pippin in the photo. And it really feels like we were just being led along this path. And I accept it. And that's fine. I don't have any actual regrets, but I have oh, did it have to be like this kind of feelings, Anyway, so we have then 24 Tarisai's training. Yeah. And this training, what were you expecting training to look like?
Well, so Zuri is he had offered to spar with Tarisai. So I thought that's what we were getting into.
Right.
But it turns out this is training for the underworld.
Yeah.
And UN is involved. And she's using her phoenix to sort of replicate the intense cold that you encounter when you're in the underworld, which I guess is the very first thing that happens when you get down there, which just sounds awful.
Yeah.
And they have Captain Bunny is there, and UN is there, and I think Dayo is there, and this is the very first leg of this long journey she would have to do in the underworld.
Mm-hmm.
And it's horrific.
Yeah.
This first step is awful. This cold that they're mimicking has her almost completely incapacitated.
Mm-hmm.
All they're trying to do is get her to get up and walk through it, and she can't even do that.
Yeah.
And I love there's this bit too where they are keeping an eye, because Tarisai still has her sprites following her everywhere. I love that too. I think it came up in the next chapter when she's sneaking on the boat, and Zuri is these sprites, you bet you can't travel incognito. You got a whole goddamn constellation floating. I loved it so much. But for this chapter, it's just trying to get her to be able to move past this first initial obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so intense that she almost is unable to do it.
Yeah.
It's the first challenge, and it feels like she might not be strong enough to meet it,
Yeah.
And it's really starting to put this whole this whole her agreeing to go to the underworld, when everything happened and she agreed with the Abiko and everything, I feel like we didn't fully understand how significant this was going to be.
I mean, it's almost like adopting 9 puppies.
A little bit, right? You just took on entirely so much more than you thought you were taking on when you just agreed to do this thing,
Mm-hmm.
Because it was the right thing to do in the moment. And now she's being confronted with the reality of just how difficult this is going to be. And she's learned in the previous chapters that her immunity to 13 deaths isn't what she thought it was going to mean.
Yeah.
And now she's having this sort of very physical experience of what it's going to be like when she's down there.
Yeah.
And she can barely make it through the first fucking, wall or whatever.
And she says, make it stop.
And they tell her, don't say that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say that.
Yeah, Ewan is like, just think about the way that they're basically the Fae. They will take what you said as permission. They can't harm you unless you allow them to.
Yep.
And that is you saying you don't care what it is that they do as long as they make this stop, and there's just one way they will do that.
Yep.
So you better mind your words a little bit more carefully.
Fucking fascinating. They cannot just kill you when you're down there, but they're listening all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And all they need is an invitation. Which, my God. Sometimes it really does feel like that in like regular life, all they need is an invitation. Just say I was reading this thing about, I don't want to get into a whole bunch of metaphysical shit because I'm not like super spiritual, but like the idea of manifesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And being careful the things you say out loud.
Yeah.
And so I was reading a post with someone I follow, and she said, the expression "fuck my life." She was like, "Don't ever say that." Because what you are saying if you believe in that sort of thing, you are giving an invitation to the universe to literally fuck your life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't say that. Don't, those kind of things we express in those moments of frustration and desperation. Like, just be real careful with your words.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just read that, like, not even a whole 2 days ago. And then to read it again here, I was like, all right, universe. Let me change my passwords.
Universe can just be loud sometimes.
And my passwords tend to be like really like salty, negative shit like that. I was like, let me change all my passwords.
Oh shit. Okay.
Because the way Saturn is acting up, I don't need to give it any additional power.
Listen, everybody hold on to your loved ones because Saturn is here and it is mean.
It is not for play.
Oof.
Saturn is. I read a thing again today, and it says that's why we call Saturn Big Zaddy. And I was like, "Is that what we call him?" That's what it said. That's why Saturn is Big Zaddy. I didn't agree to that.
No, thank you. Opting out. So yeah, this cold. They finally suggest. At first, it's like Dayo saying, think of something warm, and he tries to send her heat through the ray, and she has to be like, no, you can't help because you're not going to be there. So I have to get through this without you doing the thing for me, basically. And then she tries to picture just like a fire,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't do anything. Yeah. And Yeon says, think of someplace that you feel safe.
You need more than warmth.
Mm-hmm.
Think of something that makes you feel safe. And she starts to think of G.
Yeah.
And that works.
It does work.
Yeah, that works.
Bless.
Yep. And then as she's slowly starting to move through this cold, the OGG show up.
I hate them.
I really hate them so much. I'm so tired of them.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's part of the deal. I know it's part of the book, but they fucking freak me out. It's so upsetting. It's so triggering. I don't know how much more of this I could take. I need them gone. I need them out of the story. I need somebody to give her like a pinch of salt to throw over her shoulder or to spit 2 times or something. I just like...
But yeah, I feel you. It's so relentless, and the way that they, as she puts it, like truth and lies, they pull things. They didn't. Your siblings are gone. They left you. You didn't deserve them anyway. You can't do anything right. Give in. Pay the price. Pay for our lives.
Yeah. And there's a part, I'm not sure if it's earlier or if it's in this chapter, but Dayo eventually is just like, Tar, you haven't been well in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, is she going to say something finally? Is she going to share this part of her burden with anyone finally? And she doesn't. And there's a thing, you know, a real thing that we all, I think, at some point, well, if you're unlucky enough, you may have experienced it, where the idea of asking for help and being honest about how crazy it is in your head seems like the right thing to do, but you can't get yourself there to do it. You know? It's so fucking real. You know, like, I know that Tarisai knows intellectually, logically, because she's brilliant. You know, she knows that the best thing to do would be to share this. Right? And get support of the people who love her. But the way that the OGG work is they tap so completely into all of your insecurities and your doubts and your self-loathing that it, like, paralyzes you. Yeah. And keeps you from doing the thing that would help you deal with what they're bringing, right?
Yep. That's their job, is basically to, like, make sure that you can't unfuck yourself.
Yep. And it just fucking feels like real life, like fantasy, high fantasy that we're reading and all that. But it really struck a chord. Yeah. Because, you know, I don't do great with expressing that sort of stuff until I get to like a
breaking point.
Point of no return, or breaking point, and then it just all like comes, vomiting out. But like making a decision to have the conversation before it gets overwhelming is so hard to do. Yeah. You know?
Yep. And I've really begun to realize how much discomfort I experience when I am asking for somebody to listen to that, because I feel like I am a burden and taking up way too much of their labor. And just, you know, there's been a lot of memes circulating about mental health and whatnot. And one of them was like, if you are somebody who feels the need to care for others, were you also your mom's, quote, best friend when you were growing up? And I was like, oh my God. Like, yeah, if you're put in a position where you are highly aware of somebody who is supposed to be an authority figure's emotions, and you are like caretaking them because they are too young to have had you perhaps, or just not stable enough or whatever, and they come to lean on you a lot, then you wind up as an adult, as somebody who does not feel comfortable saying that they need someone to do that for them, because you feel like that's your job. You know? And I was just like, that's just so rude. Wow.
Rude. And we do too. The other part of that is that because when it happens to you when you're young enough, you start to believe that that is what your value is. Yep. You know, oh, I'm important in value because I perform this function. Yeah. For someone else, right? So then you start to lean into it because that's what makes you special.
Yeah, you're so mature for your age.
Mature.
You're so well behaved.
Oh, so responsible, so polite, so respectful. Yep. Yeah.
So, anyway, she manages to take a step forward. Yeah. And that is as much as she can do. And then she thinks she's seeing Jeet, but it's Bunmi.
I love this so much.
Bunmi's like, she's going into shock.
Bunmi is watching those sprites like, shut it down. Shut it down. I love it. So I love how like loyal and fiercely protective Bunmi is of Tarisai. Yeah, agree. You know, over the course of these two books, you know, she has not forgotten, you know, what they went through and what Tarisai did. And Bunmi is like, y'all not gonna have my girl. Them sprites, them lights is dimming. Yep. Shut it down.
Yeah. And this leads to an argument between her and Dayo. Because Dayo is like, this is just too far, and you're going to wind up accidentally killing yourself before you even get to go do the thing this is all for.
Yep.
And she says, well, we've sent children to do this for thousands of years, so why shouldn't I have to deal with this? And he very correctly is like, see?
I knew it.
Exactly what I thought. Yep. You're just being a martyr.
You're not really training at all. You're punishing yourself. Something's wrong with you. You haven't been right in a long time. We're all worried about you. And this is when I thought, like, for a second, she might just break down and say all the things. But before she can, the OGG are in her head. He's blind. He can't see it. They're all blind. You are alone. And the way that's written, too, and you are alone, she has it written in the text where there's no space between.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that that's really important. And it reminds me a lot of something that, like, Toni Morrison would also do in her writing. There are moments where, like, the text, the lines or whatever are all smushed together.
Yeah.
For a very certain sort of effect. And, yeah. I don't know. It just hit me. And and when she hears that in her head, Tarisai, she jumps sort of up and pulls herself away from me and just tells everybody, we're going to do it again. Because everybody's like, you've done too much. You can't do another run. And she tells you, no, we're going again.
Yeah. Ugh, yikes. I just like this moment too, where he realizes it's just her punishing herself. And she basically gets angry and gets to a point where she's like, why am I the only one who gives a shit?
Yep.
And it's so frustrating because I know that feeling. But I remember moments like this where I was pushing myself too far and sort of flattering myself that it was just because I cared more.
Right.
And it wasn't actually about that at all. I was putting a certain value on myself based on what I did here. And other people were not measuring themselves by that yardstick. And so since they didn't, I just assumed I was the more righteous one, basically. Right. And that's really what I feel like is happening here. She's acting like nobody cares.
Yep.
And I mean, there have been points where they're like, has it occurred to you we like Tsar the way it is? So, okay, but they're not saying like we should keep murdering children. That's not what they're saying. So she's just really putting words in their mouth in order to like to distance herself from Dayo, you know?
Absolutely. She has taken on the responsibility of this horrendous practice for generations, right? She has put it on her shoulders to bear alone. And then when anyone questions her, she then uses it as an attack, right?
Yeah.
You're not bearing this, but she's not giving anybody else an opportunity to bear it. She's owning all of it herself. She's not giving anyone a chance to help her do any of this. And when you are, for me anyway, I can't speak for other people, but when you become hyper aware of a significant injustice, right?
Yeah.
And then you take it upon yourself to feel like you need to address it, you can start to feel like you're the only one who can talk about it. You're the only one who can address it, you know? No one else has anything else to offer. No one else can possibly understand it the way you understand it. No one can care about it as much as you care about it. And all that sort of stuff, right? Because ego is a real thing.
It is. It's wild what we can get ego tied up with.
Yeah, and it gets all messy and tied up. And that's, I think, one of the, like, I'm not sure yet about the Ojiju in this story, but I feel like, I don't know if the book will explicitly say about ego, because I don't mean it to be like dismissive of Tarisai or even an insult. But it's like the Ojiji have tapped into that particular part of us that that says you have to do it.
Yeah.
Only you can do it.
It's your mission somehow.
It's your mission. It's your responsibility. Yeah. And if it fails, it's your fault, you know? But as individuals, and this is the thing I think that's missing from Tarisai in this story, that she doesn't get yet. As individuals, we cannot fix it. It will have to be a collective, right? Like, it'll have to be all of us to fix these things that are happening in the real life. And I feel like in this story, eventually Tarisai is going to have to understand that it can't just be her. It has to be all of them, or as many of them as possible, you know? It's too much for one person.
One would think. She really
she
seems like determined. Like, let's be real. There's a vibe with her of, I'm dying down there. As much as she keeps telling people that she's coming back and, you know, it's not really what she seems to believe. She's on a suicide mission. Yeah, very much so. So I feel like there's a major part of her that is feeling so guilt-ridden that if she did come back alive, would she be okay with that? Because I feel like she would not be.
I think that I think you're 100% right. I think she has decided, in whether she's conscious of it or not, that she has to be the sacrifice. Yeah. She has to pay for the transgressions of the previous generations with her own life. And then you couple that with the guilt with her mom, Thaddeus, you know, all of that. There's a part of Tarisai that really does believe that she doesn't deserve to live and be happy. You know, she has to suffer. Yep. Because that's her lot in life, you know. She has to atone for the sins of all these other people.
Girl, stop it.
I wish she would. I just want to say really quickly in the chat, I wanted just to mention, I think it's Jama speaking. She says that I felt so alone when I listened to this part. And I think you're talking about the part where Tarisai is hearing from the Ojiji that, you know, she can't trust Dayo, that they're all blind, they don't understand. And I felt that as I was reading it as well.
Yeah, it's just very effective. And the places that they decide to, like, come in on her right when she's... it's like moments of doubt, but also moments of triumph. It's all over the place.
They're all over the place. I can't, like, I had said in an earlier podcast, they come when she's, like, doubting herself. And then later on, I was like, oh, wait, no, they come when she's feeling good. They just fucking come whenever. Yeah. She's not 100% thinking about how she has to sacrifice herself.
That's basically it.
Her eyes are off of that particular prize, they show up.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So then we go to her and Zori fighting. And she feels like he's being a little bit flippant about her. Just like maybe brought her here just to humiliate her a little bit. But he is trying to prod her.
Yeah. That sounds gross.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Ma'am.
Oh, God. But yeah, he says, do you know what your problem is? You fight like you're defending something behind you.
I love this.
And she's like, well, yeah, that's how I was trained to protect Dayo. And he's like, yeah, well, that's not your job. And there's a moment where he, like, sort of loosens his grip and is doing this so that she will sneak away. But she doesn't sneak away. She just stays right there for a second, and it's just like, hey. Tar, what are you doing? But she says, I'm going to use my question now. You promised I could ask you anything. And she asks, who killed Thaddeus of Mew? Which I thought was like, I didn't understand her asking him this.
Yeah, agreed.
And how do you know Prince Wuin?
She should have led with that.
Yeah, I don't understand her thinking he knows anything about Thaddeus.
Yeah.
Like,
he's like, I have no idea. Shit, I thought you did it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he was like disappointed that it wasn't her.
Mm-hmm.
To which she's like, "Why the fuck?" And he says, "Well, because that would have meant that you were ruthless.
Yeah.
And if you were ruthless, I mean, that's something I can work with."
Ruthless Empress is a powerful one, and
Mm-hmm.
power can be harnessed, he says. And then he steals her mask from her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whips it. You know, they're sparring, and she's got it around her neck, so he just like kind of whips it right off of her. And she's like, "Give me that back." And he gets all like, "Oh, you come and take it from me if you want."
Make me.
Right?
To which she's like, "What the fuck?"
And then all of a sudden we see this thing again. She says, "Do not, roaring, contradict me." And it is like from the peace banquet where suddenly he is no longer smirking. It's not playful. He basically she's controlling him.
Yep.
With this power that we saw before at the peace banquet. But we get an explanation this time.
Yeah.
And this is wild.
Yeah, what do you think of this?
Wild. So it turns out, long story short, the noble families, going back to noble to perfect, as part of his 3 wishes, basically he wished to be able to control. And the noble families have, is it Oka? What is it?
What?
Okanoba?
Oh, yes. Okanoba. Yeah.
Right? And
he says it, or she, I guess. I'm saying he because she's doing his voice, but pronounces it Okanoba.
There it is.
Is that?
That's the thing in the nobles, right? That's
yes.
the blue blood. That's the sort of thing, the trait that's coursing through the blood of all these high noble families that responds to the power of the emperor or empress. And she can command that. And that's what she was tapping into at the banquet. And that is, you all right over there?
There's a fly that keeps landing on my face. It's very rude. I'm working.
But that is what she can tap into and what she can control.
Yeah.
And I love there's a little bit of a throwaway line where he's just like, we're pretty sure the emperor would have told Dayo about that if he hadn't died unexpectedly young.
Yeah. I have to assume, although I don't know, he was so shady. There's no benefit, I guess, to keeping it secret for him.
Yeah,
but
I imagine like he probably would have maybe talked to his son about it at the end of his life, when his son was in his 60s.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is something that he then wants her to do again and again.
Yeah. And
she does not like it, and he does not seem to understand how you could not like it. Which I feel like is a giant waving red flag about this guy, Tarisai.
At one point, she's just like, I don't want to be a god. And he's just like, I don't understand that at all.
I don't get it. I mean, I'm out here raising Alugbato to destroy towns. So clearly that is not something that I can vibe with. Yeah. But you do you, I guess.
Right? And she keeps telling him, that's not what the ray is about. That's not what it's for. Mm-hmm. And he's like,
It is a little bit, though.
Why do you think that? You seem super confident that that's not what it's for, based on what?
Yeah. Yeah, that was the part that I thought was really, that there's an extra dimension to this. Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't Am have shown her that part?
That's what the question is, because she tells him, Zuri, she's like, no, I was in the cave. I had talked to Am, basically, and none of this came up.
Yeah. Weird. But so it turns out in exchange for their strength and whatnot, they have signed over their ultimate will to being controlled, which that feels like a deal a lot of people would make.
Absolutely. And I love the tie-in too, because she starts remembering things, and we go back to the woman in her court whose name I can't remember.
Adebempe.
Yes. And how Tarisai basically commanded her to not be such a shitty person. That fly is giving you the business.
It's just right in my mouth area. Like, I just don't. And why now? It's been in here, I have to assume, all evening. I'm sorry. Anyway. I just don't understand why I'm being persecuted like this.
But yeah, so how that woman, two things came up. One, how after Tarisai told her, stop being such a fucking cunt, she immediately stopped being such a fucking cunt, right? And just like turned into like the nicest woman in court. She's helping all the like the more plain, quiet, introverted women, helping get them settled. And I love that so much. And then and also we talk about how these noble families do have like power because the same woman had broken that brush.
Yeah.
Like, with one hand.
I love that.
Yeah, it's very, very good. It's very nice turnaround.
Because in the moment, you're just kind of like, what just happened?
Right? And she
then
was like
she's
super
just like,
casual about it.
Yeah. It's a weird moment if you don't know anything yet. Even if you do know anything yet. But, so yeah, this is like, in his opinion, the solution.
Yeah.
And
I want
honestly,
you to come talk to my
I'm not
people.
like mad about that because it feels like it is to me too, Tarisai.
I mean, she has this power. I don't think there's a conversation with Dayo about it, but she has this power, so I'm assuming Dayo has it as well. They could just go out and tell these people what to fucking do.
Yep.
And those people will do it.
Yep.
So he's like, yeah, come fucking talk to these people. Like, you could settle all this, without the bloodshed and the horror of like civil unrest and et cetera, et cetera. And she's like, but it's not, I shouldn't do it though.
Girl, I respect and understand that mindset, but I just can't with that. Literally get over it.
I think it's interesting because Tarisai has this power, like her Halo with the memories and everything, right? So she's always been like a little, I think, uncomfortable with what she can do with people's minds, And then you add on top of that already like insecurity of like whether it's okay or not for me to be fucking around in people's brains like the way I can.
Right.
And then you add on that, I can just tell some of these motherfuckers what to do and they will be like powerless to, defy me. They will just do what I fucking say. So it's like stacked on top of this thing that she already has going on that she doesn't feel great about.
Yeah.
Because anyone else would be like, oh, there we go. This
Done.
Is it. This is what I needed to happen,
Yeah, and it's like she's suddenly realizing what was going on with Adebempe. But you and I, in the moment, were clearly like, okay, what was that? Because that was abrupt and total. And she doesn't seem bothered by it in the moment. And that always kind of irritates me because she feels the heat of the mask flare on her chest like there's all kinds of clues. And if you're not seeing them, I feel like that's on purpose, which really wouldn't be the first time for Tarisai that she just ignores a thing that doesn't jive with what she wants it to be.
Absolutely. Things that show up for her that make her uncomfortable with her power. And I don't just mean her power like magically or like as a ray bearer or as an empress or as a Halo, but her power just in her station.
Yes.
She doesn't feel like 100% comfortable with. And whenever she exerts power over other people, it's like she's afraid she's going to do something terrible with it.
Yeah.
And I guess considering her background and her mother and the Melu and all that, like that's a reasonable fear to have. That like if you don't constantly chastise and monitor and restrain yourself, that you're going to turn into a monster. If you're like vigilant at all times, you're going to be a monster. And that's what it feels like she's worried about.
It does, because like she was basically made as a monster. That was the intention. And then, Jeet finds out what she is and calls her a monster. So, I know that he took it back and everything, but that shit will stay with you. So I'm just a little bit still mad at you for that, Jeet.
A little bit.
Just drop.
And they have been. She's been practicing her sparring with Zuri, and at this point in the chapter, she actually gets him.
Yeah,
she catches him being sloppy.
Yeah, the moment where he's sloppy, doesn't she sort of ask him something that like gets him off his game for a moment? That's what it is. He says, the past Kunleo Emperor struck an unspoken truce. They would allow blue bloods their freedom so long as they stayed in line. The nobles at Anilioba must have guessed that you and Dayo were unaware of your power, or else they never would have tried to kill you. At these last words, Zuri's face tightened. His eyes glittered dangerously. After a dazed moment, I realized he wasn't angry at me. He despised the nobles, hated them for trying to kill me. But why? Why should the king of Jabanti care whether I lived or died? Shut up.
It's a mystery.
Stop it.
It's a huge
Get
mystery.
out of here. I didn't know he liked me. Girl, who do you think you're talking to? Get the fuck up out my face with this innocent act. This man is throwing himself at you all the time.
Has been.
Knock it off.
Right.
Nobody's buying it.
I love this bit too. She gets the spear up. She tells him to yield, and he stares at her, inscrutable. With all my heart, Adagio, he said, the moment you admit what you are. And she says to him, you won't turn me into a monster. I won't be made into someone else's weapon. Not again. I've already done that. And he says to her, okay, but what about all the innocent people toiling in the mills and the quarries? Are you too pure to help them? So now he's throwing it back on her face. Oh, you don't want to be a monster, but like, what are you willing to do? And she doesn't really have an answer to that. And then
she just says, I'll do it my way. Yeah, which it's not an answer, really.
Yeah. He says to her, one word from you and every blue blood in the Empire would relinquish the resources. Like, all you have to do is say the thing.
Yep.
And this is when he reaches up and touches her cheek. And he's, right? The whole 90s audience goes crazy. And he says, I will help the poor of Aristar, but I'll do it my way. And, yeah.
I just, look, just say it. Just do it. Just do it. Okay? Just use your power. I'm sorry, but having been living this life in this world, I don't really give a shit about free will at this point with people who are actively doing harm.
Right.
I just can't give a fuck. I'm sorry, and maybe that's why I'm not a hero. But I genuine, like the way he says, are you too pure? Like, I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
You know, she's just trying to maintain this sort of idea of like the ideal. And I understand that.
Like,
but
not getting your hands dirty.
Yeah. You know, just do something that you're going to have to live with, but that will make everybody else like safe and fed and warm. And, you know, like,
which is what you're saying your goal is anyway.
Yep.
So, yeah.
But they have to agree to it. Why, though? But why? They haven't. They know what's going on, and they don't care, is the whole way this works. You don't even have to make them give up things. Just be like, everybody has to care now. Is that a bad thing to make people give a shit? Like,
I mean, look at how it changed the woman in her court. You know, so yeah, the next chapter is her like stealing away on this boat in the middle of the night.
Yep.
They're going to go to the pinnacle at Jabati, and she's going to talk to, I think the plan is to talk to the merchants there, right? He's going to like steal her away. And they have to like show up at this boat in the middle of the night, like all undercover. But she also has an entire like retinue of people with her.
Yep.
Which I thought was really funny.
I like to when she's like, "Well, why can't you just do the lodestone thing?" And he's like, "Because I'm not the crocodile right now."
Right? Like
you remember that, right? That people don't know.
It would be highly suspicious if I just poofed up and showed up. They need to see me coming on the boat.
And he's wearing fucking trousers and no shirt. And he's got his, like, she calls it ripple backed. I love this so much. She just sees him from behind and has to slow down and lick her lips for a second and gather herself and then be like, put a shirt on.
He is throwing it at her.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of this chapter, when they kiss, I was like, ugh, I guess. It was inevitable. Like, it was, of course, it was going to happen. The way he's, he's just throwing himself like a cheap whore at her. Walking around with no shirt on. Isn't that what they say about women? He's walking around with no shirt on, looking all fine and shit. Like, what did you think was going to happen?
Yep. Indeedy. What did you think? Oh my God. Yeah. So this bit, I'm wearing salve. Can't you smell it? I could. God. It smelled delicious, which made my scowl deepen.
There's they're on the boat, and then he does the thing again where he's like antagonizing her to force her into her power, right?
Yep.
And I love this bit too. She says something like, she's talking to Zuri, because Zuri is trying to be like, practice the voice, practice the command that you can do. Oh my God, girl, you all right?
It's flying. It just got caught in my bangs.
And she's like super resistant, and he's just like pushing her and pushing her. Mm-hmm. So finally, he like antagonizes her enough to get a rise out of her.
Yeah.
And she ends up almost choking him to fucking death. Yeah.
Because she says a very generalized, shut up.
You shut up. And then his eyes get big and he can't breathe and he's choking and she's like, oh shit.
Whoopsies. His body was like, all right, shutting. All of it now.
And when she brings him back, right, eventually she has to, because what she ends up doing is sort of like withdrawing the, what is it?
Okanoba?
The Okanoba out from him, and she has to reverse it and put it back into him.
Yep.
Right? And when he recovers from this whole thing, he's a fucking psychopath. He's like laughing. He's like, see, I knew you had it in you.
With this dude. Like, really, get it together, sir. You don't have to be this cackling, maniacal, like...
He says, admitted it was fun for you, wasn't it? Like, sir, what?
And she's genuinely like, what? No. Like,
not even
she
a
doesn't
little
even,
bit.
Yeah.
It wasn't fun at all. What is wrong with you?
And I just can't, all I can think about is you just, like, this guy that you are super attracted to, deny it all you like, ma'am, but come on, is over here talking about how much fun it probably is to overpower people's free will and make them nearly choke to death.
He is not okay.
I just feel like back away now.
He is not okay. He sounds good. He looks good.
He look good.
He is not okay. This is what he thinks. All kinds of red flags.
Yeah.
And what did she say to him? She tells him, he's telling her, like, you have all these questions for me about Wu-In and this, that, and the other. Fucking force it. He's got a fetish. Force it.
I'm saying.
Make me tell you, he says to her. Make me tell you.
He's a bratty sub.
A little bit. And, like, you know what? Well, that's
Same.
a different podcast.
Make me.
But
you want it back? Come get it.
She tells him, eventually you'll let your guard down. I'll have to anoint you because remember, this is part of the deal, right? Once I anoint you, I'll be able to be in your head and I'll get the answers I want. And he says, no, when she talks about sharing memories with the Kusa. He says, no, I'll only need to love you. And then she says back to him, does your neck hurt from carrying an ego that big? And he says, sometimes it's exhausting.
The man's honest. You can't be mad at it.
Really appreciated that.
As somebody with a massive ego can confirm.
Listen.
It does get tiring.
It's hard to carry all that weight, right?
Oof.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it most days, but has to be done.
Somebody's got to do it. So yeah, this chapter ends with them talking about, one of the things Tarisai says to him is that I only need a council to get Light to the underworld. No one says I had to keep y'all forever. Yep. Maybe I'll just be done with you when I'm fucking done with you. And his response is, well, I guess I better stay charming.
I do enjoy him. Red flags and all. I can't help it.
It has been a delightful development in this book with the Zori character. He is just fucking, like, you want to choke him out, but also you want him to be for the rest of the story. Like, I don't know where I am. You know, he's like frustrating, but also really interesting.
Yes.
I'm not wanting them to be in a relationship whatsoever because I stand Cheap and Tarisai, and that is where I am.
Agree.
And I don't want this guy who I don't trust really to be like mucking that up. Yep. But I do understand he's fine, and I do understand a girl, you know, a girl has weaknesses.
She does. It's fine. I don't blame her for that.
So exactly. Like, if something jumps off, I won't hold it against her, but I hope that she understands that this is not for her. This dude is not for her.
Like, Jeet was the one who was like, I can't, and walked away. Shit happens sometimes.
Jeet is the one that knew that she was a sunshine girl, which ended up being so much more important and impactful than we realized at the time.
Yeah.
This dude...
This dude is just like, make me do it again. Make me. I hate you. He just, but it's like, I hate you, like, to provoke her.
Yeah,
because he likes that.
Yeah, and he wants to try to use her power, which for his own agenda.
And he's so frank about it, like
right there on the table.
Yep.
And they have overlapping interests, so I get it, you know. But there's something about him. It's not the one. It's not the one.
Yeah. It is interesting, though, Jeet being the guy who's like, I can't go as far as you want me to go. And there's just a guy in the wings waving his hand going, I'll go farther. I'll go much further than you're comfortable with, actually.
Yep. Isn't that how that shit goes, though?
It is. And then you start to be like, that's kind of far. And all of a sudden, she's on the other foot, like, isn't it, Tar?
Did I ask for this? Oh shit! I did ask for this. God damn it!
My bad.
What the fuck is wrong with me?
Oopsies.
Oh shit! We're at 157.
Oh shit, guys!
We just got in under the wire on that.
Yeah, shit. I didn't realize how we didn't even do that long a pre-show talk.
We did not. We got right into it. I think in a very responsible manner.
Oh, well, look at us. Well, you know what? Then I will put off saying hi to new patrons until next week. And apologies, like this will be going up on time, but the last episode will have gone up very late because we had just an emergency with a very injured animal at my house. And I've been putting all my time into taking care of him. So everything else has been sidelined, but hopefully I will be catching up soon. So apologies for the wait. I hope everybody was able to keep it together despite their deep grief over missing. Yeah. And is there anything else you want to say about this one?
No, I'm so excited to get into the rest of this. We're like the back half of the book now.
Well, here we go.
All
right, guys. Thank you all so much for listening. And until next time, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
was an Unspoiled Network podcast.